Hello all, and you're very welcome to Oriam, Scotland's Sports Performance Centre, where BT, principal partner of Scottish Rugby, will be connecting you to a Scottish Rugby national team training session today. And we're going to be putting your questions to the players and the coaches in real time. They're going to have to answer them. And as things begin to return to normal from the pandemic, this really is a great opportunity to connect you, our grassroots rugby clubs and communities, to a unique insight into how the national teams train and how they learn skills and what they do on a day-to-day basis. This place is absolutely unbelievable, and it's such a great opportunity for us just to peek back the curtain of elite sport in the middle of a Six Nations, and for you to see what goes on. What do they eat? What do they train at like when they've got big matches coming up in a couple of weeks' time? How do they get over the one that happened just the weekend before? All that is coming your way over the next hour. It's brilliant to have your company, and you're in very, very good company because John Barclay's here. John, how are you? I always feel like 70 watt caps. Do you mean?
Call it 100.
Should we go to 100?
No, 76.
Let's do that. Okay. And Gregor Townsend as well, Scotland head coach with us as well. How are you, Gregor? How are you?
Very good, thanks.
This place is unbelievable. Tell us where we are and what you do here.
Yeah, well, we're west of Edinburgh, close to the airport, right beside Heriot-Watt University, and this is the National Performance Centre for football and rugby. It's called Oriam, and we've been so fortunate in the last 5 years to have it. It's the highest roof of any indoor 3G building in Europe, apparently, so we can play proper games here, can get full kicking, and the players love being inside.
I bet they do. I'm glad we are as well. Now, it's an unusual one for you, and we'll talk about the weekend in just a moment, but you don't have all your players here today, do you? They're scattered around Europe at the moment, aren't they?
That's right. So this is classed as a fallow week, so 2 weeks between that middle game, either side of the middle game of the Six Nations, that teams stay in camp, recover, build on what they've done the first couple of games. For us, it's different. A lot of our players play in England, so they've got full fixtures this weekend. We've got one player that plays in France who's got a fixture on Sunday night, which is 6 days before we play France.
We know who you're talking about there. Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a lot of forwards here. We brought in some players from the under-20s to help us out with today's session, and really it's about getting the players back on the training field, recovering, doing any skill work we think is relevant from the game at the weekend and what we're going to play, what we're going to do against France.
I bet weekend before last when you beat England, you're like, BT want to come along and film training? Yeah, they can all come. Bring their grannies. It's great. Open house. And then this weekend you're like, why did we agree to
for both reasons.
I mean, you must have been, no, really, because it's tough. And it was a tough all game against Wales, and I know the second half has you reflecting a lot today, and there's a lot of chat out there about it. Your reflections on the weekend?
Yeah, well, we're still in the process of going through it. Like normally, when you play week to week at club level or during the November tests, you have to do the review on a Sunday. You're moving on to the next game on Sunday night, Monday morning with your players. This week gives us a chance to be a bit slower with our review, which isn't obviously that great a feeling when you've lost and you haven't played at your best. But it's great to be back on the training field. Our players will come back with energy. They're determined to improve. And the improvement starts on the training field. You need to transfer what you do in the training field onto the game.
Just on that, Greg, how much of this, the improvements, you look back at the game and we talk about the psychology of defeat, how much of it is the psychology, or how much is it just technical, tactical?
Oh, they're both mixed. I think a lot of the technical, tactical accuracy comes from focus, and that could be individual focus, collective focus. So yeah, that comes from the mindset, comes from where you are in that minute of the game, what you're listening to, whether it's a referee, your teammates, and what's working for you. So it comes to that, but those focuses are formed in how you train, how you're open to feedback, which our players are. We're hugely disappointed with the result, with the performance, and we know we're better than that. We just have to show that next time we play.
You don't have everyone today to have that big group kind of debrief. You'll probably do that on the weekend. What we do have, though, is lots of questions from the public. You looking forward to that?
Yeah, excellent.
No, I think they're going to be okay. Let's go with the first one. These are the tweets in. I have to lean forward to read this, okay? This is from MT Hagen, 65. Scotland have made huge progress in recent years, and well done to everyone for that. You see, nice. There you go. What do you see as the key elements to focus on to keep progressing the team to be in a position to challenge for a Six Nations title or reach the late stages of a Rugby World Cup?
Yeah, look, learning is important. Like, you learn from victories, you learn from defeats. Failure has helped us get to where we are today. We didn't have a successful World Cup 2 years ago, but since then the players have shown, and probably every game we played, that we've been competitive and we've won some big games. So Saturday we've got to show us a bump on the road, but what we learn from that game is going to make us a better team.
Wanting to get those elusive back-to-back wins at the start of a campaign, though, John, isn't it? That's what everyone's kind of talking about, right?
Yeah, and you can sense the frustration, and you'd almost rather there was a game this week, I guess, to almost get stuck back into it.
Yeah, and not having everybody here makes it a little bit, well, it's great that we've got a training session, but it's not everybody.
Yeah. How meaningful training can it be with only 13 players? That must be a huge challenge.
It is a challenge, and we've got to realise that the guys have came off a 3-week camp, 2 test matches, 2 very physical test matches, so you probably wouldn't want to do that much physically with the players anyway, but active recovery, there's learning. We've got a scrum machine here, we've got a forward pack, so they'll be pushing hard today. But with this group, with some of our key players, as you know, Stuart Hogg, Finn Russell, other players in our back line, we're not going to be able to do much team stuff.
This is a live training session today, and thank you so much for nosing in behind the curtain and seeing what's going on, which means you do have to go and actually get involved in this training. You do, yeah. But you're going to join us because we have a lot more questions, and people want advice from you about their own rugby careers as well. So a lot of that going on. Will you join us later on for that?
Course.
Okay.
If we're finished in time.
We'll try, and you try. We all try together. We'll be all right. And you've been in the gym already, haven't you?
Not doing stuff.
Okay, well, let's have a look what happened. Here we go.
Right, we're here with Stuart Yule, who is not head of S&C, is head of physical performance. Stu, we're in the gym, it's the fallow week. Who should we go and speak to? Who's the strongest guy in the gym at the moment?
The strongest? Probably Maggie, Rambo.
We'll go have a chat.
Yeah?
We'll go have a chat.
Big Z, actually.
Oh, here we go. We'll start right here then. Xander, sitting very quietly. You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks, stuff.
Feeling good?
Yeah, feeling great.
Who's lifting the most here today?
Scoomy, yeah, just working up to a decent set, so.
Wait, what are we going to get up to here?
I don't know. It's all about how fast we can shift it. So maybe like a 160, 170.
Shoulder press.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
You sure?
You know it works. You're really good at it.
Yeah. I used to be strongest in the gym. Who would be strongest now? Why are you laughing?
No, nothing.
Who would be strongest now? Who would be weakest?
Oh, that's a tough one. Who'd be weakest? I don't know the backs, but I'm probably going to save you a back.
Must be a little rat around. Scoomy, come say hello.
Hello, my legend.
How's it going? How's the body?
Very good. Started with some strength training today with Big Z. It's no easy days with carbo loading and heavy weights on a Tuesday. Us.
You guys are lifting heavy today, training hard?
Yeah. Amish he's a boy that produces supplements for us in the squad at the moment. And I have to say, he starts with a big bang on a Tuesday, but Thursdays he dips a bit, and that's when the big heavy type 5 raging through the week.
Right, we'll let you crack on. We're going to move through the gym.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys. Lift heavy. Some big noises over in this corner of the gym. Stu, talk us through what they're actually doing today. There's a lot of noises.
Yeah, a lot of noises, a lot of heavy lifting. Now it's first day back in really in the fallow week, so want the lads to get some lower body strength training in, get the body moving, good form. You know, we just need to get that strength training through the week. Otherwise, through a period of 8 weeks, guys can start to lose strength. So it's important to get these sessions in the fallow weeks.
And could Stuart McAnally be lifting slightly heavier now, or?
He could be heavier, but he's putting some tremendous speed into that bar. So
yeah,
we need him to move it well, and Stu's doing some good squats there.
Today's a light day, is it? Must be.
Yeah, light to moderate.
Yeah, alone from the best. Stuart, talk us through that. How's the body after a game? Give us an insight into genuinely how hard it is to get moving again after a test match, having played in the front row for 45 minutes the weekend.
Yeah. You're always pretty sore a couple of days after. I was playing the first gym session back. You're just looking to get the body moving. You're not looking to push the weight too much, just good form and trying to get moving.
Clearly. Body okay though? Everything feeling good?
Yeah, everything's good. Just disappointment from the game, but you know, these are great weeks for us to review and just get through some training, get the focus turned to France.
And how disappointed are you that there's cameras here today? Because you told me you were going to go light today.
What do you mean?
You told me you were going to lift light today.
Well, back in the day, there was my mentor, John Barclay, never used to lift more than 50%. So
why would you?
I've learned from the best.
Keep the rust off, Stuart. That's what we used to say.
Absolutely.
Right, we'll let you crack on. Cheers, Stuart. I think we'll head through to the dojo now.
Yeah.
And see what the guys are doing back here. That's Peter. Stuart, give us just a bit of insight into that. Your job is, give us as a percentage, how much would be physical performance and how much is mental? Feel good, letting the guys actually feel good for the games versus actually really pumping really heavy weights all of the time?
Well, you'll know as well as anyone, John, that this period is a tremendous mental stress period. There's pressures coming from every angle, and you know, saying in there we need to retain these qualities, but we don't want to push them so they infringe on what the actual goal is during these periods. So we want the boys to come in, get some sort of stimulus so they do retain strength, muscle mass qualities, but ultimately they can take those physical qualities onto the pitch and perform when they need to. So we try and keep it that kind of, you know, medium weight. We're not trying to break records in the gym. We want that strength realization to come out and that power realization to come out on game day. So it's really just you know, you said keep the rust off, or you know, it's a tickle. Keep things simmering.
Yeah. So your role would be different to a club S&C coach, where they're probably looking for gains through the year, building a bigger. Your role is purely for trying to make the guys peak for 5 games over this championship and 3 in the autumn.
Yeah. No, it's a completely different period, as you say, and you know, we still want to get better. We still want to improve. We still want to make sure at the end of the tournament we're as physical and as strong, as powerful at the start. So that's where that careful manipulation of what we do in here, how we load them on the pitch, how we, you know, what we do in these fallow weeks to ensure that we can come back strong again on, you know, next week against France.
And just we spoke to James Robson. Obviously, not everyone that plays the game is professional. Not everyone has access to all these facilities which you guys are blessed to have. What kind of stuff can people do who are playing the club game, who have aspirations to play professional rugby, to keep themselves in the best condition to play at weekend, but also to grow?
First and foremost, it's being healthy and enjoying exercise. You know, enjoying, you know, if they are playing in the amateur game, they're getting along and they're training. They're fueling well so that they feel healthy. They're getting the basic pillars of recovery in. You know, their sleep. These are, you know, it's the simplicity. The simple things done well are the best things. So, and you know, accessing a gym so they have a level of strength training in there. You know, the way the game is now at every level, it's physical. So anyone who is aspiring to progress needs to have that base level of strength and conditioning so that they can cope with the demands that come onto them on the weekend.
Stuart, you're ahead of physical performance. We'll let you get back to your job.
Thank you, John.
Cheers, Wolf.
A lot of talking, very little lifting, John. You know what I mean?
Yeah, trying to keep rust off, that's it.
Right, so we're in the middle of the pitch now, and they are going through a real live drill here at the moment. What is this drill, do you know?
It looks like Steve Tandy's barking the orders in behind. I think they just, with the numbers they have, they're focusing on the first few lanes in defence. They call them guard, shield, lead, or Guard Shield Day, everyone's got the same kind of terminology. But GSL, Guard Shield Lead, I think, and how they work and how they fold and how they get the defensive structure, because the way most teams defend now is from the inside out. You get your set from the inside and then try and push forward.
Now, they don't actually tackle in these sessions, do they?
No, they do.
They will, actually.
Maybe not today, but even in here, they play games in here. They'll go fully live in here. They can do everything in here.
The number of mental contact is limited these days, isn't it? You can't just kind of be smashing each other all day, I believe.
It's meant to be limited. I certainly try to do as little as possible towards the end, but they do a little bit. But I think they realise now a lot of it is mental preparation as well as the physical preparation, and certainly the squad's Ira, and there was a nice balance to that.
So the yellow bibs are the attacking side. Oh, they just coughed one up. Now, when you cough one up in training like this, is that really sneered upon? Is that remembered?
No, I remember if you're in the defensive team, you want to attack, but then they blow the whistle, and then you never get the chance to attack. So there'll be some young lads in there who just come in. Obviously, Gregor's brought in a few of the under-20s guys because of numbers, and they'll be keen to throw it around, put their weight around a little bit.
Why are the two lads on the deck there? They're simulating the end of a ruck, are they?
Maybe just to make it more tiring. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Simulate a ruck. I think the hardest thing when you do this thing is they talk about people bouncing out. They want people to stay in the rucks, but when you play touch, you're so desperate, especially the younger guys, to get out and defend again, and they want to be involved in every phase, but as you know, in a game that doesn't happen. You get pinned to the bottom of rucks, you get pinned, you get held onto. So actually manipulating and putting them on the ground, making them work, takes about half a second to get off the floor, actually, which in a game takes about 3 or 4, but that's why they're doing that.
And I guess it's just, you're just doing it repeatedly, because then you want to be able to do it in game without even thinking about it, right?
And they want to do it under fatigue as well. That's something Gregor, he'll try and create chaos, and he'll try and make them stressed, and he won't let them get fully set, because that's the nature of Test match rugby. You're not going to be set all the time. They try and make them adaptable. They try and make them resilient to adapt to what's in front of them.
There's a lot of coaches out there. There's like 4 or 5 coaches watching what's going on. I mean, you have to perform in these training drills.
And there's cameras everywhere as well.
Really?
And ours as well. Yeah. Okay. There'll be cameras. Normally there's drones flying overhead. They're watching. Gregor, I'm sure, is desperate to get in there and play today. He's got his boots on, but yeah, they're watching everything. It's got to the point now you can't actually hide in training. So not that you'd want to, but certainly in years gone by, you might take it easy in a fallow week, but there's coaches at north, south, east, west. There's people in the stands. There's people up on computers above. There's people recording. There's no room for hiding anyway.
Because we often hear, don't we? We'll go, why'd you select that player? They go, well, he went really well in training. Yeah. And people often go, well, what does that show us? What do you learn from a session like this?
You see, someone like a Rory Darge. He was a young guy at Edinburgh when I was there, and he just trained well all the time. And then he never really got an opportunity until he went to Glasgow, but he showed enough glimpses at training. So you say, this guy's going to be quality. He's certainly not afraid to mix it with the older guys, the more physical guys, the guys that are going to put it about. So you can learn a lot about certainly the mindset of younger players in particular, of how they go about. And you also learn a lot about the older guys. Do they just show up every week? The best ones do. They show up and they train well every week. Like a Hamish Watson would be like, he'll train well every single week. Super competitive, wants to be physical, wants to get on the ball, wants to be involved throughout.
It looks like they're changing the drill now. Steve Tandy is hopefully going to come and join us and tell us what he's actually doing at the moment. But it's a transition touch session. So what's that all about?
Transition touch. They're going to try and overload attack now. So they've done defensive drill. This is where one of Gregor's games. They play a lot of game-based stuff, try and simulate scenarios. But transition touch, as far as I remember, it's been a couple of years, but they're going to try and overload the attack. So you can have every time you're going to have 2 more attackers than you will defenders. So in conclusion, it's not much fun being a defender. You're just chasing your tail, trying to catch up, trying to catch your breath, and the attackers always have more players.
Here's Hamish coming down now. He is a wise man because he is wearing leggings. Yeah. Because do you get cut up on this stuff here?
Yeah, sadly you do. Yeah, it's fast. That's the other thing. It's real fast, and because the game's fast, you get pushed into the deck. It is quick. Not many of the front row boys wearing them. Not yet, anyway. No. I know George Turner's got some on.
You probably get a bit of heat. Oh, he steps well, doesn't he, for a big lad? Look at that. Okay.
He knows what he's doing. There's not much of a step there. Grant Kilker's going route 1.
It is interesting, though, isn't it? Because it's not far off what we play in the park on a weekend, is it? It's essentially a bit of touch. But
it is touch, but I think here they'll get penalised for if they're inaccurate. Things that they hold on to the ball, but they could have been done there for like inaccuracy of the breakdown. How did they present the ball? What did they do? What did they not do? And sometimes they just do it to create more chaos, which is frustrating as a player. But they just want to put you off your stride, make you uncomfortable.
I'm just looking at Steve Tandy. I think he's coming over to us now. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Sorry, you're trying to do 2 jobs at once here. How's it going? You all right?
Yeah.
So John was giving us some idea of what was going on. Transition touch, is that right?
Yeah, just obviously lots of turnovers in the game, and we try to get that bit right and trying to move the point of contact of the ball really quickly. So this is just the intensity of the game as well. So it's a lot of ball in play timing around us and making sure we react them really well to when we do get those turnovers.
How much of, because as defence coach, how much of what you're going to do over the next kind of week or so is based on what happened last weekend?
Not so much. We've got our core principles and what we want to be going into any game, and I think it always falls back to who we are and what we want to be. Obviously, going into France, there'll be slight tweaks in around the 9, how he plays compared to maybe the Welsh 9 and things like that, but most of it we tend to look in the mirror and see how we were on the weekend and grade ourselves on the standards we set ourselves in on defensive marker.
Yeah, so you talk about there about how you want to defend. There's been a definite shift since 2019, since I retired, bizarrely. I'm not sure that's a coincidence. But just in terms of, most teams defend the same. You know, the technique, the tactic, you know, most teams defend up and out. To me, it speaks about like the culture and deciding like when you look at how you want to defend, what kind of defensive team do you want to be. How have you kind of instilled that into the Scottish team?
Look, I think the boys, they're the ones that drive it, and they've been unbelievable to work with. We've had real buy-in, and there's something I think we talk a lot around what we want to be and the standards we set ourselves. But in fairness, the system, we made a couple of tweaks when I come in, but the boys have asked really good questions and getting the understanding of what we want to become, and actually just embracing what we want to be. And we've got our own unique little way of doing certain things, but like you said, most of it is the same. But I think any defensive system, if you get a buy-in from a whole group, then you've got half a chance to get it right. And in fairness to our boys, I believe they're right into the system, and they trust themselves in most of the big moments, and they believe that our system can deal with most things.
It certainly works.
At what stage, Steve, will you be putting an Antoine Dupont jersey on one of these guys and a Damien Penaud jersey on one of these guys and letting them play out those roles together?
Yeah, I think there'll be more, just those two. There's a few other boys here. We have to keep our eyes
well
up
up front.
Yeah, there is some boys that are going to move it around a bit. But again, I think it just goes back to trusting who we are. We know what's coming. The thing is with France, they're an unbelievable team. They can go through the front door, they can go around the back. So we know we're going to have to do our jobs and stick to our system. What it is, there's definitely obviously the 9 in round here is probably one of the best 9s in the world, if not the best 9 in the world. He probes around the ruck, so you have to be ultra vigilant in around that and probably have a couple of subtleties of strategy maybe in around that. But mostly it'll come back to who we want to be and controlling our system and making sure when we go into the game we're nice and clear of what we want to be.
It's been a fairly horrible knock on in the middle of that session there. You want to go shout at someone about that?
I'll leave out of Gregor. As long as he wasn't defensive end, I'm alright. Yeah.
Well, let's go sort that out. Yeah. Steve, thanks so much. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. We're going to talk props now. Yeah, prop strength session. You got involved in that?
That's what I was renowned for.
There you go. Have a look at this.
Right, we're here with Peter de Villiers, Scotland Scrum coach. Peter, talk us through what you're doing with Pierre Schoeman here on the floor.
Yes, Pierre's just doing some core stability. So trying to make sure that players inside the scrum can still keep their shape, be square, send power to the front. So we're trying to connect the core with the rest of the body. So sometimes maybe move him around a bit, or he can keep the...
He's hoping we start filming soon.
Keep the ball stable. Yeah. There we are.
Thanks, yeah. And this is
a long rep.
You can do at home. I guess you deal with the elite end of the game. You know, guys who are in elite condition. Yeah. Everyone watching this might not be in that condition. They're playing amateur rugby. Oh, this stuff's completely transferable to the amateur game, down to the girls and guys that play this game at home.
Absolutely. I think these are the building blocks. If you're good here, you can be good in the scrum and you can keep your shape and you can scrum with the unit. Yeah. So there's so much that can be done with body weight, with Swiss balls, with elastic bands. There's a lot that can be done, and sometimes players forget that that is the building block of strong scrummaging.
Yeah. And on how much live scrummaging do you do? I know this week might be slightly different. You don't have a huge amount of numbers, but I think everyone thinks when you talk about scrum coach, you're there, you're smashing into each other. But a large part of it, from what I understand, what it was when I stopped playing, was a lot of technical stuff, a lot of detail, a lot of one-on-one, 3v3, 2v1. Is that still the case?
Yes. Early week we'd get a lot of that done because players are still recuperating from the game, getting over the stiffness of the game. So we'll do a lot of this sort of stuff and one-on-one in the gym early on in the week, and then Tuesdays would be your bigger day where you've got some unit stuff, some system stuff as well, and maybe ending off with a bit of live work as well. Yeah. But yes, it's pretty much is a mix, and then on Thursdays you try and have a more condensed session where you've still got a little bit of live work, but but intensity, but not as long.
Is the hardest part of your job trying to get the back rows to push?
It's always been.
Always has, always will. But who's the worst? Hamish Watson told me he was the best.
Well,
Not him, obviously.
I think Rory Darge is excellent for a young player. So
there we go. He's gone to good. I can tell you, it's not Hamish Watson, definitely. But you work with the whole scrum and focus a lot on the front row. But obviously, it's a collective thing trying to get the whole back row, the second rows, technically, tactically, to buy into it.
Yes, I think we try and get the back five to get the chat up as one big thing, because the moment they talk, they're involved,
bring energy,
and then they've got to have to buy into pushing as well. So we like to keep it energetic and get the back five involved. Yes,
some things will never change. Peter Villiers, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
We're just watching forwards take as long as possible to lace up their boots. How long does it take?
It's my trick, take as long as you can.
John Dale's with us here, one of the assistant coaches here taking care of the forwards, and we're going to see a scrum session here, John. I mean, you got a fairly good crew with you today, don't you? I know you're missing a few guys, but a good pack of forwards today.
We have, and it looks like a chance in a week off to look at some more technical work. Time in the grass is pretty few and far between in a match week, so obviously with a new initiative around the breakfoot, I think that's what Peter's going to concentrate, trying to get that release on the breakfoot, but also generate speed and balance.
I'm glad you brought that. I was chatting to Stuart McInerney earlier and chatting some of the analysis. How hard's that been to adapt? You guys found out the week or the day before the first game?
Yes, I think the call was the Sunday before the England week, so it's we had a little bit of a heads up, so Peter did a little bit of work in the autumn around it, and it was going to come in and didn't come in, so there's quite a lot of change around it, especially for hookers, because it's not something domestically they're doing, so we're not seeing that in the English Premiership or in the URC at the moment, so the lads coming between both are coming under two different kind of constraints.
We'll keep an eye out for that. This is the new thing they're trying to take out the axle loading from the front row, and you've got this break foot going down. I can't believe I'm doing a front row demo right now. Let's see the lads do it properly, John, if you don't mind. So bring us over here. The beast is sitting there. I'm talking about the scrum machine, of course. A few beasts around here, John. Big lads.
Big lumps, isn't they?
Big lumps. Okay, did you enjoy these sessions, John?
Not particularly. Well, Hamish is still, but they don't have the back row, so like I said, I used to try and take about 7-8 minutes of getting my boots on and then jump in and push a little bit. So the lads just getting us up here. There's Peter de Villiers taking the session here. So John, how long will this session be? Because you can't do too long of the scrum machine these days, can you?
No, I think it'll be about 8 to 10 minutes, so look, it's a good chance. Peter likes that, like quite a long lead into the scrum, so we're not going straight to live, so good chance to, let's say, work on that breakfoot on the speed, but also build a little bit of unity in terms of scrum unity, so that we can scrum for short scrums but long scrums as well, and build that endurance.
So what are we looking here from Stuart here, John?
It's just this front leg, his load foot, so obviously he's got 8 bodies to try and stabilise with that front foot, and then he's got to try and get the timing through the cadence of the referee to understand when that foot's going to come off the ground and when we're going to generate that power. So he's got quite a bit of responsibility there and a lot of weight coming through that front leg.
Still a fairly heavy hit, isn't it?
Those pads aren't soft either. They look reasonably soft. I can assure you they're not. How much of this is technical, tactical? How much of this is emotional? How much of it is mindset going into, look at France this week. Big scrum. Does that change slightly how you approach the scrummaging?
I think in terms of, we've got to look at what if a team's going to hit and try and come through, or if they want to scrum for short or long. So I think people do the analysis on that. But for us, the process is always the same in our ball. We're looking to have that stability and generate that speed and build long scrums.
Well, that's it. I'm sure you're looking to keep ball in play, move a bigger pack around. So I guess the wider game will actually impact the scrums.
And that's it, and I think we've got quite a positive mindset around the scrum that we want to play with an attacking team, so the scrum's there to give us a stable platform to play from, as well as to generate penalties. And
he really has to whip that break foot back, actually. You've seen it live here close up. It's a real whip of the foot, isn't it, before you engage?
It is, and I think there's been a lot of going back and forward between the referees and the scrum coaches around what that break foot looks like, and like how much has to be. Is it a yard, is it half a yard, and get the right part that we can decrease the loading on the necks but also keep it safe.
Sticking in a couple of locks here, John. You might be up soon.
You got a tie head playing in the second row. This is my worst nightmare. I managed to go 16 years without ever going in there. And VP's going in there.
So what's Peter looking for here, John? He's really studying this very, very closely.
Yeah, so now just looking at the height that we're getting the front row to, and then how that foot's coming off the ground and how much speed he's generating across it.
How much weight are they putting through their bind? You see the guys at the second row are fully locked out, nothing holding back, not on one knee now. There's a lot of pressure still going through the bind.
Still a lot, yeah, and I think now we've not got the eight man here, but there's quite a lot of part of the process around the eight generating that power for the lock. So yeah, there's 7 guys engaged in that bar. The eight, he's not slingshotting, but he's probably the last.
Everyone watches the game. You know, we sit up and watch the game now, and you get some fans. They get frustrated that the scrums go down. Yeah. They don't understand the number of moving parts, the stress that goes through the guys in the front, the amount of pressure, the amount of balance as well that goes on.
Yeah, and like when you played as well, John, the referees all have their own individual cadence of how they communicate the calls as well. So we've got to have an understanding of that, because if you train for short pauses, then you may get long pauses in the game, and we get a lot of early engagements, and maybe scrums going to the deck as well.
I have to say, against the machine, the scrum seems to be set an awful lot lower than it is on the pitch. Am I wrong, or is this do you go particularly low, you guys?
We're looking at the marker halfway down the pads there. There's a little white pad that we try and get as optimum level, but you're right, some teams we've got to adjust to scrum, teams that want to sit a little bit higher. But you know, in terms of the variability, the machine can give you good feedback on the height that we're hitting at. There's less moving parts to the opposition in this. So
I do have some questions in. I've one here from an under-18s player, John, and he's asking, do you think the new law is this breakfoot? How do you think it's going to protect players over the course of their career?
I think safety's paramount. So
safety's paramount. The pad's just fallen off right on cue.
Okay, you broke the scrum machine.
But no, I think safety's ultimate, and I think it's just like everything. Once the players get used to that, everybody will adapt, and it'll be a safer game for it. And hopefully at the forefront of it, we're the first guys getting the opportunity to go through it, so hopefully there'll be a lot of feedback and make it easier as we develop that down the levels as well.
Another question, and quite a few people have asked this one. Thanks for your questions, by the way. Do you think there should be a clock on scrums?
These guys wouldn't want one.
It's a tough one, isn't it, when you get these multiple resets? It's difficult. It's not a nice thing in the game. So I'm sure, like everything else, we'll look at that going forward, but I think with the breakfoot taking away some of the loading, we'll get more stable scrums, and hopefully that'll fix some of it.
Who's the worst referee at refereeing scrums? Don't have to answer that.
Probably myself. Good
answer.
Good stuff. These guys are going to be at it a while here, but you met up with Doc earlier, didn't you, James Robson?
Yeah, catching up with an old friend.
Yeah, well, he knows you very well. Yeah, you used to see him a lot. Let's see what happened. Have a look at this.
I'm here with James Robson, MBE. He's just told me, not OBE. James, we're on a fallow week here in the Six Nations. Talk us through your role in this week.
Yeah, so fallow week's really a recovery week for us. It's fallow week because we have no test match, but clearly a number of the exile players, a number of the pro team players in Scotland return to the clubs. That leaves us with a reduced squad and any injured players from the weekend. Our care is looking after them this week. It's doing the training that the coaches can manage with a smaller group, but primarily it's about recovery and recuperation.
And how hard is that for the guys? Just give us an indication. Obviously, I played the game. You see the speed of the game going up. How hard is it on the bodies, and how important are these down weeks?
I mean, having been here for a number of years, I still marvel at how these guys actually recover from such a physical contest at the weekend. I would prefer to have as much time as possible for them to recover, but it's a multi-function task, so it's the coaches, it's the strength and conditioning guys, it's our physio colleagues and myself, medical, our nutrition, our soft tissue therapist. It's multimodal. We look at the player and we do everything in our power to help them recover quickly and safely.
Have you seen a big change, even in the last, I look at the game, I retired 2 years ago from international rugby, 3 years ago. Have you seen a big impact and change in the number of injuries, the types of injuries, the time it takes to recover for the guys?
I don't think so much that the number of injuries has changed. Perhaps there are subtle changes in the type of injury. What I do see is how fast the game is becoming. Again, it's very difficult to comprehend how much further the human body can go as far as performance, but these guys perform week in and week out. So, as I said earlier, the fallow week is truly a recovery week where possible, but some people do need to return to their clubs. They'll be given the recovery at the club. We finesse that for those guys that we remain here.
I know as a player, and people say the game or the championship should be played over 5 weeks. from you, that would be impossible.
I certainly am not an advocate of that. I like the format that we have. We have 2 test matches. We have a fallow recovery week. We have another test match. We have a fallow recovery week. I think that's important to get the best out of the players for the championship and produce the best performance on the pitch. I think recovery is so important.
And just people watching this, obviously not everyone's a professional rugby player, what can people who are playing the game, young players, people playing semi-pro, what can they do to, I guess, give themselves the best chance at recovery, best chance at rugby health, I guess we would call it?
There's no mystique to many of the techniques. It's all about looking after your body. Even today we've heard about Djokovic saying that he takes a pride in what he puts into his body, and it's the same for any athlete. It's the same for any rugby player, be it professional or community. It's about having a balanced diet. It's about having adequate rest. It's particularly making sure that your sleep hygiene is good. Sleep is very restorative. And then there are simple things like pre-exercise, warming up, using the stretching mats, light exercise before you get into intense exercise. There's no great mystique to that. The thing with the professional side is that they have a team of professionals to help them hone that to the nth degree.
Now that I've retired, James, who's the hardest to handle?
Ooh, that's a difficult one, John. you left me so shattered there.
Don't answer that. James, thanks for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
I've got quite a few tweets on this one, but I think I'm going to have to ask it. This one from Nick Sherrard. He echoes a lot of people. Not the best time for this, surely. And I actually really admire the Scotland camp for letting us in off the back of a loss. It's good on them because they could have just shut the doors, couldn't they?
They could have shut down, but there's nowhere to hide. I think that's the group you see now is actually, they're honest, they're resilient, but you see the game, everyone can see what they say, so it's one of those ones, but yeah, we're glad we're in.
You might want to look up there because John's taking himself up to the top of a ladder. And there's Xander. Hey, Xander, how are you? How are you keeping? Am I allowed to fist bump you? I think. How's that scrum session there?
Sorry, I just saw this thing. It was good. Just fine-tuning the craft, making sure we get some things fixed on the weekend and just keep building through the weeks.
Yeah, so how much of the weekend do you carry into the week in camp after a loss?
So we usually review it, and that's sort of time for the preview as well. So we usually have a scrum meeting maybe on a Monday night with the front row, and we'll take that into a full pack meeting on the Tuesday, and then we'll look at the threats of the weekend and what we can work on and stuff. So yeah, it's an ongoing thing throughout the week, but we're building towards a solid session on that Thursday to get into the game.
How many changes can you make in the week, Xander? I played, the guys watching, how much can you actually change in the space of a week? Because the French pack will pose a different challenge to what Wales did at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it's just focusing on us. I think look at our scrum set. We didn't get a few things right, and so that's just a few key things we can fix. So, as you said, John, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but just a few fine-tuning things can have a massive effect. If all 8 forwards go in the same direction, it's going to make it a lot easier compared to if one's going there, one's going the opposite way. So it's just making sure everyone's on the same path, the same synchronisation.
A lot of tweets asking about mentally how you deal with a loss to Wales in the weekend. This one in particular, I guess, encapsulated a lot of people's thought. How do you stay motivated? How do you remotivate yourself after a loss when you're back in camp?
I think it's international rugby, so there's motivation every week. So it's about licking your wounds and making sure we get the things we didn't do right, and we improve on that and make sure we fix it for the France week. So yeah, there's plenty still to be excited about. There's another game, international rugby, coming up, so we've got to put our best foot forward and make sure we learn our lessons.
Even those few scrums on that beast there look fairly intense. Yeah. Can you give people at home an idea of just how intense it is in the front row in international rugby, and maybe the back row sometimes?
John likes to think he was a great scrummaging flanker.
Yeah, scrummaging back row scrum.
Did you ever feel dizzy just from pushing?
No. At one time I was a bit tired though.
No. He scrummed in Maldives, I'll tell you.
These guys got the John Deere's on.
It's tough on the old toes, but no, front rows. It's the best job in the world.
Why?
Why?
They love it. It's like a private club, though. It's a private club. These boys love it.
Could probably start that, definitely.
It looks like the most uncomfortable place on the planet.
You got to learn to love it.
Give us how tiring. I never played in front. We joked there. You boys will say to run around, and the expectation now for you to run, carry, tackle, make line breaks, all this sort of stuff. How tiring after getting off potentially 30-second scrum, 4 reset scrums, that might be the case.
Yeah, I think it's all about what we do in the week. We train pretty hard, and you can see there, it's all about that lactate in the legs and stuff, and making sure training is as intense and as difficult as the match at the weekend. So I think if you train those high standards and that intensity when it comes to the weekend, it just falls into place. So
it's easy.
Pre-season stuff. Get the first game out of the way, and then you build on that. So yeah.
So in the Six Nations, your hook has a break foot down, and it's just stopping too much pressure coming through the front row, particularly the hooker before you actually scrummage for real. Has it made much of a difference? Have you noticed it much?
Yeah, it has. I'd say it's more axle loading, but yeah, I'm not going to say too much.
I
don't know. I think they're trying to fix that thing, but I feel that there's more coming through in the props, I'd say.
It does feel like that we're getting more reset scrums now than we were before bringing this rule. So maybe take a bit of time to adapt, or maybe it's just not the solution.
Definitely. They just brought it in, so I think we had a week to prepare for it. So every team's in the same boat, but yeah, as you can see from the weekend, just that split second gets caught, or if hooker's not very flexible and it gets jammed, that can have a big effect as well.
You can thank us because we've got you out of a line-out session.
Oh, thanks guys, appreciate it.
There you go.
Thanks for having me.
We'll let you go and get the back end of it. Here's Hamish Watson coming over to us. That headband looks good. The whole look is more kind of LA Pilates.
It doesn't have my accent
Rugby at the moment.
It's not an accidental.
Hey, how's it going? How are you?
I'm getting bullied before I even come in.
I was kind of edging towards a fist bump, and then I didn't know, I'm just going there.
Hey guys,
just saying, the look is more kind of 70s flash dance at the moment.
Yeah, I like to keep a lot of layers on, get nice and sweaty, blow out the cobwebs.
How's it been back in camp?
Yeah, good. Had a few days off to sort of recover and mentally go over what was a tough loss to take, obviously. But no, good to be back in with the boys. Some of the guys are back playing this weekend, so it's nice for us to be able to stay as a group, and the home-based players just work on some stuff that didn't quite go right the weekend.
Have you watched France-Ireland yet?
Have I watched the game?
Yeah, have you watched back the France-Ireland game?
Bits of it. I haven't watched the whole game, but I've watched little clips of it.
I mean, they look good, don't they, France, at the moment, huh?
Yeah, France are a good team. They've struggled against us over the last few years, especially at Murrayfield. So we'll go into that full of confidence. If we can play to our best ability, I think we can make it a really tough game. And if we get a result there, then it's sort of all back on and everything to play for.
I'm seeing a pattern, John. They come over for a chat because they miss out on the drills. Come on, you can walk and talk.
Is a renowned.
You can walk and talk.
You show us a line out work here.
Oh yeah, this is my forte.
Exactly. That's what you're not required. I know. Hamish didn't change his boots either. No scrummaging boots.
How different are these drills to the ones you're doing as a schoolboy? I mean, because they look very familiar. A lot of people watching this will recognise a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar stuff. Like I say, I'm not exactly like a line-out guru, but it's similar stuff. I'd say the main thing, just like the detail, and I suppose the height. These boys here are all pretty big lads, so the height you can get them up in the line-outs and stuff like that. But I'd say it's similar drills. A lot of the school coaches now have worked with professional coaches or played at a professional level, so I think that's why school level's pretty good nowadays.
What are they doing with the bands? This is new. I've not seen this. Just trying to serve or something.
Yeah, so as if like you're sort of getting
nudged and knocked around
and stuff like that. So it's just to try and stabilise them. So
I thought to stop them running into the hydrotherapy room.
We saw that earlier.
A bit of that coming your way. A big question on Twitter. A couple of people have asked, what's the key ingredient to beating France, do you think?
I think penalty count. We struggled at the weekend with our discipline at times, and I think that really cost us. Wales managed to play a lot of territory on us because we gave away silly penalties at crucial times. So I think that's something we've got to work on individually as well. It's a team thing. It was sort of across the board. It wasn't any one player. There were sort of lots of boys giving away penalties, and then just errors as well. I know it was a wet day, but a lot of handling errors. We know if we can take France into high face count, and when we did that against Wales, we looked really good. So we've just got to try and keep the ball and play a bit more at speed, and hopefully that will challenge the French.
Obviously, no one's trying to give away penalties.
Yeah.
You say work on that. How do you work on that? You've not done the debrief yet. It's one of those I always find fascinating, and yet no one's trying to make mistakes, no one's trying to give away penalties, but is it something you just speak about? Certain things are avoidable around the contact zone?
I think it's obviously we do our reviews on the referees and see sort of which way they lean towards, whether they reward the attacking team and stuff. And I think at the weekend you could see that Nick Barry was sort of giving a lot of penalties early on for both teams for not rolling away at the back of the breakdown. And I think once we saw giving away 1 or 2 penalties, I think it's being able to like twig that hang on, we're not getting the penalties at the breakdown as much as we'd like. So then we've got to leave that. At half time we mentioned it, and we said that we knew that he would go into the game and not give away penalties for rolling away. So I think once we know that's the case, we've got to work on that, which we weren't too well adapting on during the game.
13 penalties against Wales, 8 of them were on the floor against you guys. So what do you actually do technically here this week and next week to try and figure that out and fix it? Are there drills for that?
The rolling away at the breakdown, I think it's one of those things. As soon as you make a tackle, you've got to be aware. It's not just resting on the ground and sort of lying there. I think you've got to be aware of that. I think they got a few jackal penalties at the weekend, maybe 2, but we knew that they were going to go hard there. They picked a back row that were good over the ball, and I think actually the people who got their turnovers were a prop and a centre. Maybe they got 3. So I thought our breakdown work was actually all right. Just in the wide channels, we sometimes let ourselves down. So that's something we can definitely work on. Just speed to contact, and when someone's there, just trying to move the bodies a bit quicker. I know it's hard when a back's on maybe 120 kilo prop, and that's tough. But that's something we can work on.
Do you want to train, or do you want us to keep you here for another 30 seconds? Because I have another question for you. This one's coming in Twitter. You don't want to train.
All right.
Your most memorable game, your favourite game you've played for your country?
It's tough. I mean, we've had some great victories over the last sort of 4 or 5 years for Scotland, but I think probably that 2018 game when we beat England, we hadn't
had to say that. See? We were playing. So
you
we teed that one up nicely.
That's why I tried to ring yesterday and left a voicemail. No, but I think for me that was an amazing day. We hadn't beaten England in 10 years, and growing up and always seeing us lose those tight games, I think that was a big turning point for us. I think since then we've sort of really kicked on and we've been able to win those tough games, especially had the upper hand against England. So I think that was a big turning point for us.
Do you like the hydrotherapy room? Big fan of it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm not so much an ice bath sort of guy, but I like the heat. So heat immersion, I'll get in the sauna and the jacuzzi and stuff like that. So
well,
yeah.
John went in earlier, kept the kit on. Here you go.
That says it all, doesn't it? All right, see you guys. Cheers. Thank you.
Hi, we're here with Chris Leck, Assistant Strength and Conditioning Coach for the Scotland team. Chris, talk us through a fallow week, a typical week, and the aims of what you're trying to achieve with the guys who are pretty beat up after 2 tough games.
Yeah, of course. So obviously with the intensity of the games at the minute that they're playing, and they're having to back that up week to week, we put a huge recovery emphasis on week to week. Our 2 main pillars that we look for is getting a decent sleep, but also then making sure our nutrition is well. And they're the 2 main things that we try and promote. After that, we try and add the sort of little 1%ers in and around it, which come with the pool. In this facility that you can see now at the minute. So what they do is at the start of the week, they get a suggested recovery schedule sent out. Now again, that's just based off what we feel might be beneficial to them on each day. So whether it's a heavy contact day, whether it's a heavy high speed running day, that might change in terms of the modalities that we try and suggest. But in general, a lot of the boys have individual routines that work for them. So the likes of Xander, the likes of Hoggy, them type people are really in tune with their recovery week to week, and they generally follow what works for them. So what we try and do is facilitate as much as we can for these players in there, suggest and guide them in the right direction. But you know, if something works for them, then we
I was going to say, you mentioned Xander and Hoggy, they're 2 different ends of the spectrum in terms of where they play the game and the way they play the game. But you have to treat everyone as individuals. I was an older player, I spent half my life in here and tried to not train as much as I can. Is that very much a point? Do you let the guys lead themselves on that?
I think you've got to look at the dynamic of the group. There's younger players in there, there's older players as well. Usually what the theme that comes back is the older players, I wish I'd have done this from when I was 20 and you know, I could have prolonged my career, and it's trying to get them and educate them in and around why you're doing certain different things at different times of the week.
It's about habits, isn't it?
Yeah,
get the guys in good habits, because this stuff can be done in the amateur game as well.
Absolutely.
And over here we've got the ice bath. We're going to have a look at them. We've got the ice baths, we've got hot baths. So this is the hot, I think.
Yeah.
People spend more time in here. You've got the cold over there. This stuff can easily be recreated for amateurs, guys and girls playing the game at home.
Absolutely. I mean, this again, it's just a fancy facility. We've got everything in one place. But you know, if you run a hot bath at home, this is your hot bath pretty much at home. You know, you can run a cold bath as well, and I think the main thing with a cold bath is it doesn't have to be ridiculously cold. It just needs to be within 8 to 10 degrees, and you know, you can put a bit of ice in there to thing, but that's the optimal temperature for the ice bath or the cold bath. So again, these all things can be done at home. If you look just in behind here, we've got a lovely sort of pool facility here, which again, so my height comes up to here sort of thing, but for most of the boys comes up to the hips, so they can get through and open up the hips, get some active mobility done through that as well. So we try and get them in here as much as we can every day, paired with the ice baths, the heat and so on. So yeah, I mean, like you can see here, everything's laid on a plate for them. It's just making sure that they follow a decent routine that works for them.
Well, the proof is in the pudding, so we have a man in the water here. Hopefully he's going to come say, here he is. Top day of the office, Craig.
Well, I ordered a beer and I ordered some nuts, and I'm just like waiting quite a while here. So
it's on its way.
Keep the noise down and get the beers in. Thanks.
Sorry, we'll go get that now, mate. Sorry about that.
I'm going to try the cold one. I'll get the cold one. Here, is it?
Yeah, I think that's cool. That's definitely hot.
Oh, that's the hot. That's the hot. It's the next one. It's the next one.
Oh, sorry, how embarrassing.
Head first.
I'll just get the jets on as well.
Yeah, make it nice and cold for you.
Colder. Oh yes.
Up to the neck?
I think it's actually up to the neck,
up to the neck. Usually, says up to the neck is the way to do it. Everything's shrinking.
It's inverted.
Yeah, it's up to the neck.
You let's shout.
Head under?
I think the protocol said about 10 minutes.
Okay, get out.
Exactly, that's us. Right, Chris Lack, thanks very much for your time. Craig Doyle, go and warm up.
That was deeply unpleasant for many reasons, but mainly for people watching. Sorry about the underpants issue.
I enjoyed it.
It does work though, doesn't it?
It does work. I think. I hope for you.
Are you in shock?
I am, kind of.
The vision will go, it'll take 2 or 3 weeks, and then
a couple of nights and nightmares, I'll be fine.
How's it been for you, John, being back here?
It's nice to be back. It's nice to see them after a tough loss. They seem in good spirits. Everyone expects them to. You can't mope around for days on end. They've got a championship to play for still. They've got a huge game against France in a few weeks. So yeah, it's really nice to be back and see the coaches, see what they're up to, see how the game's evolved, see how training's evolved.
We know they have the game because they beat England. It was that second half against Wales that really was the undoing of them. France, I mean, they could have a bad day out. You know, it's a long championship, so you know it's still all open at this stage, isn't it?
Look, certainly we said on paper they probably could have and should have beat that Welsh team, but on paper you say that this French team should beat the Scottish team, but it's not played on paper. There's different ways to play the game, and I think Scotland will look to derail this French team, put them out their stride, because when they get going, they're unbelievably good. But also, we haven't seen everything we've seen from Scotland in years gone by. They need to get their attack game clicking a bit better. The defence looks good. Hamish spoke about discipline. Yeah, there's a few things they need to tweak, but they'll be confident. You know, Finn coming back, these guys coming back, Stuart Hall coming back from their clubs this week, having played. We hope they stay fit, but really excited to see how these guys front up and react to a really disappointing week against the Welsh.
A lot of community clubs watching this today. Great to have your company. Thanks for joining us, and a lot of questions coming from there. One of the big ones coming in has been, and different versions of this question, you know, how, if you want to be a pro rugby player, what do you do to help yourself? If you're playing amateur rugby now, how do you move on through the ranks? What's the one key thing you can do?
I was going to say one thing. I was going to say two things. I think it's quite easy at a young age to forget why you're playing the game. You know, that stuff will come to you if you're good enough. I always say the cream will rise to the top. Don't get too caught up in, I want to be a professional rugby player. Make sure you're enjoying the game. Make sure you're playing it for the right reasons. But equally, you've got to work hard. You know, too many people I saw grow up with, I want to do this, I want to do that. You've got to put in the hard work. You know, there's so many opportunities now, whether it's, we've seen the S&C guys, we've seen the hot baths. There's ways to do all this stuff at home. Just do it. Do it. You put yourself in the best position to do it. If you're not prepared to do it, someone else take your place now. That's the reality with the numbers playing the game.
We have another question, but it's on this screen, so I got to kind of lean in to read it. I know, yeah, I'm getting old, John, you know. You may have noticed that when I got out of the water there. And this from Will Meakin. Under nines, I've moved from tag and touch rugby to tackling in the past couple of months. What advice would you give to players as they introduce this into the game?
Practice. Slowly. You know, and these guys, people think when you come and watch a training, we've not seen tackling today, you think it's going to be some elaborate drill. A lot of it's about the basics, do the basics well, and just repetition. There's no substitute for just repping things out. Low level stuff. You see these guys, they're not doing body on body, they're not doing bone on bone stuff. Take away that element of the real bashing, the bone on bone stuff. Practice the technique and keep practicing it.
It's interesting, isn't it? It is about technique and just keeping it really simple, even at this level. They've done this thousands of times, haven't they?
Even the high ball stuff catching there. You got Chris Legg, who's in the ice bath with us earlier. You know, he's now done. We don't have collisions in the air now. So there's ways to train these things to keep yourself safe. Because I think the reality is there's enough contact in the game these days without adding too much more in training.
How much more are they going to do here today, would you say?
If I was still playing, I would probably be in the hot bath by now. But they're inside, so it's not. They've warmed up. We're a bit cold, but they'll keep going. That's the great thing about this. So they can just keep going. They can pick away their extras. There's no game this weekend. They're working on things they don't maybe get to work on so much in a test match week.
So the full squad will come back in over the course of the weekend. A few Exeter Chiefs playing on Sunday. Finn Russell might be playing on Sunday for Racing 92. So it won't be until Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, they have a full review of what happened and a real charge into that French game.
And I think they'll probably look more towards France and look back towards Wales, just given the week that's gone. Guys will have mulled it over. Guys, everyone would have watched the game. They've got their iPads, they've got laptops, they can watch the game. And like I say, those guys don't get into camp till Monday, so they won't train Monday, they'll train Tuesday. It's a really short week anyway. So they'll have a plan. The plan will probably start going out this week. They'll be formulating a plan to see how they can beat this French side.
John, it's been great fun.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, and a big thanks to BT and Scottish Rugby for connecting all of this and all of us with you today. I hope you've enjoyed it and enjoy the rest of the Six Nations. And of course, don't forget, you got Gallagher Premiership Rugby coming your way on BT Sport over the course of the weekend. But from all the lads here, just going through the final bits of the training, and John and myself, take care of yourselves and goodbye. Say goodbye, John. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Bye, guys.
Nice.
Manly.